Good afternoon, baseball fans, and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk with Rags here in season 4, episode 71. And today, here we have the honor of having former Major League pitcher Denny Nagel with us today. Denny, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Sure, no problem. Well, hey, let's start at the beginning. When you were growing up, did you play all sports, or just as you got into high school, you kind of thought that baseball was a way to play at the next level, so then just concentrate on baseball?
Yeah, I definitely played all the sports. I was one of those kids I was blessed. I mean, my grandmother was a very, very spiritual and religious woman. She always told me, boy, God bless you with some athletic ability, Denny. I was very lucky because it seemed like no matter what sport I played, Mark, I could always pick it up pretty quick. And
Right.
I played everything. You name it. If it was a stick, a glove, a ball, anything, I wanted to try to play it and I wanted to try to master it. So I played soccer, football, basketball, baseball, tennis, golf. I mean, I just wanted to try them all. But
Right.
baseball was definitely my first love.
Yes, and then having the opportunity there after high school. I mean, hey, college baseball is college baseball, but playing baseball there at University of Minnesota, a lot of South trips there playing college baseball there in Minnesota.
Yeah. We were lucky though too because we were one of the only college programs in the country where we had access to a major league stadium as
Right.
well too.
Yeah.
Back then it was the Metrodome, so it was indoors. So we would start out and we would play a tournament. It was called like the Wheaties tournament, then the Pillsbury Classic, and we would fly in all the top teams in the country. The Oklahoma States, the Miami's, the Florida States, Arizona, teams like that, and we would have a really good tournament inside the Metrodome, and then we'd go on our spring trip to, like you said, either down in Florida or Texas or Arizona or California, some warm weather. So by the time we finally came back to start, kind of our regular season outdoors, it was, kind of like middle April, end of April, so the
Right.
weather would hopefully be closer to the 60 degrees at that point in Minnesota by then. But yeah, I mean, I was really lucky though, Mark, because a lot of people don't think of Minnesota or the University of Minnesota as a baseball program, but my college coach actually just retired last year. I went up
Oh, wow.
for his ceremony and stuff, and he was there 43 years,
Mm,
broke all kinds of records. When I was there, it was like his sixth year, I think.
okay.
He was just the young guy starting out because, I know my mom and all the moms were in love with him. He was such a young, good-looking guy, when he first started coaching us there and stuff. But so yeah, he just stepped down after 43 years, and he set all kinds of Big Ten records and national records and stuff. And so I was very blessed to be able to go to a program like that and play, at the Big Ten level too, because again, even now and back then, people don't think of the Big Ten as baseball. It's more basketball and football, but there's some pretty daggone good competition. The teams like Michigan, Ohio State, Indiana, Purdue, ourselves, Minnesota. We've had a great story tradition over the years there.
Yeah, and then go back on your college coach. I mean, that's definitely something that you don't see these days is a coach staying at one place his whole career.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, over the years, because he did such a great job there and had a great reputation of what he was putting together there in Minnesota, he had some opportunities to take some,
Right.
bigger name schools, whether it be Arizona or I think UCLA maybe was recruiting him at one point. But he's
Mm,
a born and bred Minnesota kid. He played there, hurt his arm. He was a pitcher, hurt his arm, so
mm.
he never really got to fulfill his playing career. But he transitioned over into the coaching side of it, and he just felt like Minnesota was his home, and he didn't want to leave there, and felt like he had an obligation to continue what he had built there, and hopefully, build a winning tradition, and that he did, and then some.
Yeah, yeah, and then the summer programs, to sharpen your skills and get ready for the next collegiate season, and you having the opportunity of going to play in the Cape there in the summer of '88.
Yeah, that was a great experience too. And I mean, they say if you can succeed, hitting and pitching, if you can succeed for the hitters, it's their first opportunity to use a wooden bat, and
Right.
so for the pro scouts to see how they can handle that, because some guys it's a big transition, and they're never really able to make that transition from the aluminum to the wood bat stuff. So But as far as the pitchers, if you can succeed against all that competition that goes there, then you know you got a pretty good chance. Unfortunately, I had to leave the season early that summer because my shoulder was kind of barking and I had to take a couple months off. But before I left, I had some really good outings and really started to establish myself. And I know when I got drafted by the Twins the next year, Terry Ryan,
Yeah. Yeah.
the head scout for the Twins, he had told me that two of the things that really made a difference was I had an outing in Miami where I was hitting 90, 91 on the gun. But also, he said that, what I had done in the Cape Cod, their scouts really liked that summer as well, too. And I had a couple of different scouts tell me that as well, too. So, because when I was there that summer, too, Mark, I mean, it was myself and Scott Erickson and Chuck Knobloch and Mo Vaughn. And, I mean, it was a who's who that was at that summer. I mean, it was crazy good competition.
Yeah, and then I definitely remember when you pitched for the Pirates, but getting the call on draft day there, here you played baseball here in college baseball there, University of Minnesota, and then the local major league organization calling your name there in the third round, and when we were growing up, I mean, there was no MLB network, there was no MLB radio. I mean, so back to the olden days of giving the picks a call.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely old school. You just kind of sat around your phone and matter of fact, too, I didn't have a cell phone or anything too, so I
Right.
kind of had to be available at my house phone at my college dorm there and stuff too. But the one thing that I'll never forget though too, Mark, was that my dad came into town. He had, we didn't make the Big Ten tournament that year, but he had come up for one of our last series, and I think he had flown back to Maryland, but then he wanted to fly back for the draft because he wanted to be there with me. And
Right.
so, and I knew I was, hopefully the rumor was I was going to go anywhere between the first and the third round. Ended up
Okay.
being the third round, but my dad was there to help me pack up my car and drive my car back as well too, before I started the negotiation, of the signing process stuff. So, but to be able to have my dad there and experience that whole thing with me, and I mean, it was a dream come true because you think back about those times, those field of dream moments with playing catch in my backyard with my dad. He was my first coach ever. Taught me everything, taught me a lot of things that I still carried over into my big league career and stuff. And so what an unbelievable experience to share that with my dad once I got that phone call, and to hug him and both of us crying together, realizing that, hopefully this dream was coming true now.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I mean, I understand why baseball's moved the draft, especially around the futures game there on All Star Weekend, and definitely understand why the draft has moved there to All Star Weekend now. But there the draft would be going on, before the College World Series, and it would be going on right after conference play was done.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of torn. I'm like you. I get it. I understand why they've done it and why they moved it to around the futures, game and stuff, whatever. And because they want to try to emulate the NFL and stuff, make it more of a production deal and hoopla and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But I thought it was kind of cool though too that you could get drafted, like you said, even before the College World Series had started, even too. And so there was always some good background stories that would happen in the College World Series. That Ben McDonald going number one, and he's facing the number two pick, whatever, and he's the cleanup hitter for Mississippi State or whatever, and
Right.
so I always like those kind of backstories and stuff too. Of, well, such and such thought he should have went number one in the draft, and now they can prove who was going to be better in that big matchup game in the semifinals in the College World Series stuff. So, I thought that was pretty cool the way they used to do it that way.
Yeah, and then so you get picked by the Twins, and then once you agree on a contract, then it's time to go down to Fort Myers and start getting in the swing of things of your professional career. And with Fort Myers being the spring training complex there for the Minnesota Twins, and then on the backfields were their minor league teams, right?
Yeah, and actually, when I first signed, spring training was originally in West Palm Beach with the Twins.
Oh, okay.
So I was down there. It was weird because the minor league was no wait, the West Palm was instructional ball, God, now I'm trying to think. But no, I think my first spring training was down there as well too. But the big league camp, if I'm not mistaken, the big league camp was in Orlando. It was so
Oh,
weird. It was so weird.
right,
Now all the complex, the minor leagues and major leagues are
right,
all in one. But
right.
back then, you never know what it was going to be. And but yeah, I'm pretty sure that my first spring training in the minors was 1990. Yeah, because yes, it was like West Palm. I think I know instructional ball, but anyways, yeah. But the first big league camp was definitely Fort Myers and stuff, and but yeah, it was funny too, Mark, because even though I was from Maryland, I was still considered a local guy, like you said. And
Right.
the Twins were getting a lot of heat in those years leading up to when I got drafted by them for letting the local guys get away in the draft. Guys like Terry Steinbeck, Paul Molitor, Dave Winfield, all Minnesota guys. Molitor and Winfield both went to and Terry Steinbeck. They all went to University of Minnesota, but they all got drafted by different teams. So local fans and the media were really starting to give the Twins crap, saying, "Man, you got to stop letting these guys get away." So around that year, when I got drafted, it was like 5 or 6 of us, either from high school in Minnesota or from the University of Minnesota program, that were getting drafted by the Twins. So it's pretty cool that they kept us all together.
Yeah, and you get drafted, in the '89 draft, and then in the late July. I mean, July 27th, 1991. Get your major league debut here with the Twins. So we just shared about the call when your name gets drafted, but how about the call when you're going up to the show?
Well, talk about old school again. I remember I had to call from a payphone outside the locker room in the stadium in Edmonton, Canada, because we were on the road. I was playing the Pacific Coast League with the Portland Beavers, the AAA for the Minnesota Twins, and we
Right.
were in Edmonton playing the Angels AAA. And so again, no cell phones. I had
Right.
to go make a collect call from the payphone right in the stadium to call my parents. And my dad's like, "What the heck are you doing? What do you call me collect for? Don't you have a game right now?" I was like, "Yeah, boss, I just want to check in with you guys. You and mom do anything this weekend?"
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think we have any plans. All right, good, because you're coming up to Minnesota to watch me make my major league debut.
Cool.
And there was like dead silence for a minute, and then I could hear the crying in the background and stuff. And so it was definitely a pretty cool experience. The only downfall about my major league debut and that whole experience was I thought I made my first and last start on my major league debut because I pitched into the third inning. I think I was leading 2-1 at the time when I left, or 3-1 maybe. But Candy Maldonado was the big old
Right.
guy, the
Yeah.
big muscular dude. But he was with the Brewers that year.
Right.
And I mean, I had an eventful, first major league start. Paul Molitor was the first hitter I ever faced. He
Wow.
hits a line drive to left, bullet line drive off me. I strike out Willie Randolph for my first strikeout. I gave up my first big league home run, Dale Swain. And then Candy Maldonado hits a bullet line drive, probably 110 miles an hour, right back at my forehead.
Oh
And
my.
when I followed through, the only thing I could do quick enough to react was just put my arm up in self defense. Because I
Right.
didn't have time. I didn't have time to get back this way for the glove.
Right.
So I put my elbow up. It hit and it missed the point of my elbow by like 2 millimeters. The
Oh.
orthopedic doctor for the Twins said if it had hit me right on that point, it probably just would have my elbow would have exploded and shattered,
Oh.
and all those fragments stuff. But thank God it hit like just below it. So I just had a really bad bone bruise. But
Right.
the other bad part of the two, Mark, was the old Metrodome. The dugouts were really far from like the field of play, especially like the pitcher's mound.
Right.
That's how hard. But it hit me so hard with the elbow. It took like 2 hops, and then into our dugout.
Oh wow.
And but so my first reaction was I'm trying to find the ball to make the play. Then I
Right.
realized the ball was out of play, and then my arm just locks up and it's kind of shaking. And the trainers come out, they walk me out the field. Like I said, it's a long walk. So it's a long walk to the dugout, and then there was the old stairs that went all the way up from the dugout up to where the locker rooms were. I mean,
Right.
I don't know how many steps there were, but it was so all I could hear. There was a sold out crowd because we were in first place, and that was when the Brewers were still in the American League, and they were the
Right.
crosstown rivals. So
Yeah.
it was like 52,000 people there that night, sold out. And all I could hear was 52,000 people going, "Oh God," because they kept showing the replay over and over on the diamond screen, whatever. My mom and dad, my uncle were all at the game, and my mom, she said she about threw up in the stands because it was making her sick to stomach watching that replay over and over.
Oh
And
wow.
my dad's got tears in his eyes because he thought the same thing. I thought my made my first and last start on the same day,
Right.
but thank God it was just a deep bone bruise and only had to go on the 15-day DL.
Right. Yeah, and and then just how battle back, and then you get ready for the '92 season, and then definitely trades as part of the business side of so you play college ball, Minnesota, get drafted by the Twins, make your major league debut with the Twins, and then right there before spring training of '92, get traded there to the Pirates.
Yep. And again, way before social media and everything else out there, this was the one trade that happened in my career that I had no idea was going to happen, Mark. I hadn't heard anything from my agent. My agent really hadn't heard anything.
Right.
And so I remember I was on the backfield doing PFP, pitchers fielding practice.
Right.
And so I'm with Jack Morris and the other veteran pitchers and stuff. And Tom Kelly yells over to Dick Sutch, our pitching coach, who's on the field with us doing the drills. He said, "Hey, Sutch, send me Nagel." So Jack Morris and some of the veteran guys are like, "Uh-oh, what'd you get into last night, kid?" And I go, "Jack, I swear I was in bed at 9 o'clock. I didn't do anything." And so Tom Kelly puts his arm around me and he says, "Son, Mr. McPhail," Andy McPhail, the GM, he said,
Right.
"Mr. McPhail's just informed me that you've been traded to the Pittsburgh Pirates."
Oh.
And this is before Ashton Kutcher and Punk, but I'm sitting there going, "What? Am I getting punked right here?" I mean, what the heck's going on? I hadn't heard anything. And I was like, "Wait, are you serious?"
Right.
And he goes, "Yeah, but son, it's a great opportunity." He goes, "We didn't want to have to trade you, but we had a chance to get a 20-game winner in John Smiley, and we feel like we had one more good run to make, try to make a run at the postseason again this year. So we wanted that veteran guy." And he goes, "These guys wanted you bad because they traded a 20-game winner for you." So,
Right.
And after it all settled in, Mark, then I was excited as heck though, because I'm from outside the Baltimore area, but my mom grew up in Pittsburgh. Her
Oh.
dad was a Pittsburgh police officer. Used to work games at the old Ford Field and stuff, whatever,
Right.
So they were super excited because now it's only a 4-hour drive to come watch me pitch, as opposed to taking a long flight to Minnesota. So it
Right.
all worked out great.
Yeah, and the thing is the the little bit that you played there with the Twins, longevity there with Tom Kelly, leading that organization with being the manager, and then with getting traded to the Pirates. I mean, playing for Jim Leland, and right there in '92. I mean, that's the Pirates were definitely a threat there in the National League.
Oh, absolutely. And man, I'll tell you, Mark. I mean, I was so lucky to be able to play for some of the managers that I played for over my career. I mean, Hall of Fame managers, obviously
Right.
Jim Leland, Bobby Cox, Tom
Yeah.
Kelly, Joe Torre. I mean, they're all up there. But and also too, my pitching coach that I had with the Pirates too, Ray Miller. I
Right.
grew
Yeah.
up a huge Orioles fan, and so he was the pitching coach in Baltimore
Right.
before going to Pittsburgh, and then went back to Baltimore after that. So, but I
Right.
was a fan of his, just when he was the pitching coach for Jim Palmer and Scott McGregor and those guys and stuff. So, it was great really working with him too. And so, yeah, I mean, it was a great opportunity to be able to go over there. And that first year, we still had a great team, made the playoffs that year, had that heartbreaking loss, the infamous Sid Breen slide,
Right.
in the game 7, the 92 at NLCS. But, it was great though. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Pittsburgh and being able to have my family only have to drive up 4 hours to come watch me play.
Yeah, and then while you were there at Pittsburgh, being named an All Star, and the first time, there in '95, putting on a National League uniform here with being part of the Midsummer Classic.
Yeah, that was incredible. My younger son, who's now 20, he's a huge baseball fan and a fan of just the history of the game and stuff. And he loves being able to pull up old clips of me and old YouTube clips and stuff, whatever. And so not that long ago, he found the '95 All Star game online and stuff. So we were watching it together, and it was amazing because not only was it an unbelievable experience to be able to make that first All Star team, but I also the inning that I pitched was pretty incredible. I mean, I was pretty proud of myself. It's one of the more proud moments I had in my career. I had some great moments, throughout my whole career, but that was one of them that was way up there because, we took a lot of pride. And hopefully the players still do. It was always big bragging rights, and that was passed down from the veteran guys. When I came up, that hey, this is not just a get together, rah rah camaraderie thing. We take this thing seriously. It's National League versus American League, and so when I came in, I think it was the sixth inning, and we were down 2-1. And I remember because I just recently watched it. Carlos Baerga, who was one of the top hitters in the AL at that time, he hits a leadoff double against me. They pinch run Robbie Alomar. he proceeds to steal third on like the fourth or fifth pitch. So now I got a man on third, nobody out, and I'm facing Edgar Martinez, Mo Vaughn, and Albert Bell.
Oh,
And
wow.
I got Edgar Martinez to pop up the short, struck out Mo Vaughn on a 2-2 changeup, and then got Albert Bell to ground out on a 3-1 changeup to get out of the inning without giving up a run. And
Nice.
Jeff Conine ended up hitting a game tying home run. Then we won it like the inning after that. But I remember Felipe Lou really came up to me and was like, Denny, that inning you pitched, man, that was so important because that kept us in the, that inning could have got out of hand and everything. So that was a big momentum turner for us.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then in '96, they're in the summer, teams, wheeling and dealing here with the postseason, and you just mentioned about playing for some Hall of Fame managers, and getting traded from the Pirates to the Braves, and going from Jim Leland and Ray Miller to Bobby Cox and Leo Mazzoni, and they're on that '96 Braves team there when you came in about here with the pennant race right around the corner.
Yep. It's funny because now things have come full circle because I was the young guy getting traded for the veteran left-handed pitcher. And now, even though I'm not that old, but I'm more of a veteran left-handed pitcher. So I was the hired gun now. So I was on the other end of it. But it was crazy though, too, Mark, because that time I knew I was getting traded. I had a breakfast meeting with Cam Bonifay, who was the general manager for the Pirates.
Okay.
And, he had said that they wanted to re-sign me, but if they re-signed me, they were going to rebuild, with a lot of youth around me. And so he kind of gave me the option, and I really respected that he, was truthful with me. And I said, well, Cam, I've already been going through that rebuilding for 5 years now, and I'd like to win now, and he's like, okay, I can respect that, Denny. So we're probably going to trade you, and I said, the only thing I said to him, I said, look, I know you got to trade me in whichever is best for the organization. I'd prefer to stay in the National League. I kind of like that style of play better. And he
Right.
just kind of gave me a wink and said, I think you're going to like where you end up. But the National League teams I was hearing was like the Mets and oh God, I forget a couple other teams because, the Braves had 3 future Hall of Famers and they
Right.
had Steve Avery,
Right.
but I didn't realize Steve Avery's, his shoulder injury was as severe as it was,
Um,
but you're thinking that team doesn't need pitching. And I hadn't even heard that rumor. So
right.
and the crazy thing was too, though, Mark, I pitched against them the night before, beat
Oh,
Smoltz 2-1.
uh,
That was the year he won the Cy Young. And so
right.
the next day I get traded. Now I've got to change locker rooms. Whatever. That was the crazy because they were in town playing us. And the
Right.
old Three River Stadium, you go down the one tunnel as you go into the stadium, and you go right to the home side, left to the visiting side. I
Right.
went right because I'm always used to that, and I was like, "Oh crap, I got to go that way," So I walk in, and Terry Pendleton's sitting right at his locker right there, and they all teams have a thing called Kangaroo Court where we find
Right.
each other some funny finds, and then they usually put the money in. We donate to a charity or have a team party as well at the end of the season. But it's all fun stuff, missed signs or stupid things you do during the season or during the games. So with me, Terry goes, "Oh, there he is." He goes, "Let's see. You struck me out twice last night. That's $200. You struck Chipper out twice. That's 200. You gave Smoltz a loss, and he's going for a Cy Young this year. That's at least another 200." And earlier that year, when I pitched against him in Atlanta, David
Right.
Justice used to have kind of like a windmill swing when he let
Right.
go of the bat.
Right.
I threw him a nasty changeup, Mark, and he swung so hard with that windmill swing that he popped his shoulder out, dislocated his shoulder,
Oh,
missed the
wow.
rest of the season that year. So he goes, "You dislocated Justice's shoulder. He's out for a year. That's at least $1,000." I'm like, "All right, go ahead, put me down for it." He goes, "I'm just kidding, kid. Welcome to the club, man. Hope you
Right.
help us win another World Series, man. It'll make up for all that."
Hey, and the other thing is there in that '96 season. I mean, that's when a young kid was on the fast track there with the Braves. I mean, Andrew Jones. Just with the not only did he make the postseason roster, but they're starting there in Yankee Stadium, and what a career he was off to with the Braves.
Yeah, he was probably one of the only guys that was really disappointed that they traded for me because he hit his first big league home run off me. And,
Okay.
and I think he hit like 2 or 3 home runs off me in like the 8 at bats that I faced him that year.
Wow.
So I joked with him even too. I go, "You probably were hoping that I wasn't going to trade. You wanted to keep hitting bombs off me." But yeah, I mean, he was unbelievable. What an incredible career. I mean, I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame, no question about it. Because not only was he an incredible, hitter and young athlete and stuff too, but the best defensive center fielder I've ever had play behind me. I couldn't tell you how many times, Mark, that you as a pitcher you throw a pitch and you're like, ah, dang it, that's over his head or that's going to fall in, and that kid just caught. You turn around and go, oh my God, he caught that again. I mean,
Right.
he just nothing got. He played so shallow. He played one of the most shallow center fields I've ever seen because he had that much confidence in his ability to get that jump on the ball that went over his head.
Right.
And so he would cut off those sinking liners that would fall in on most outfielders because he played so shallow. Yet he had such a great first step and instinct that he could catch the ones over his head too.
Right. Yeah, and then in '97, I mean, being the home opener, I know that they're at Truist Park now, but after the '96 Olympics, having the home opener start there at Turner Field.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That's another ones I'm really proud of. And I still to this day when I go back to Atlanta for alumni events and stuff too, so many fans bring that first pitch at Turner Field poster and stuff, whatever, and have me sign it because it's
Right.
pretty cool to be able to say that you were the guy that threw the first pitch ever at a stadium. Whether it's the first anything, the first home run or the first pitch and stuff. So it was a pretty cool experience for me to be able to kick off that stadium.
Yes. Yeah. And then, you know, um, another World Series moment here was, when the Reds traded you to the Yankees and being part of, you know, the Yankees run there in 2000. And not only did they make it to the World Series, but then being part of Subway World Series.
Yeah, and it was crazy too, Mark, because that was another one where, again, I knew I was getting traded because
Right.
I had a meeting with Jim Bowden, the general manager of the Reds, and the same
Right.
conversation almost. It was right before the All Star break, the day before, and he was like, Denny, I just want to kind of get a gauge, if we have a chance to re-sign you. And I told him, I was like, Jim, I'm 31 years old. This is probably my only go around at free agency. So I think I'd be doing myself an injustice if I at least didn't see what's out there for me. I said, now don't get me wrong, I'd love my time here in Cincinnati. I'm going to give you guys every chance to sign me. And he's like, okay, but just so you know, there's a chance we might trade you, but it'll be at the trading deadline. This is the day before the All-Star break. Trading deadline's in a few weeks.
Right.
So I go to Colorado. We're going to open the season in Colorado against the Rockies for the second half with the Reds. So I went up to Vail or Beaver Creek, whatever, to spend the All-Star break there.
Right.
The first day, the day before the All-Star game, I leave my phone charging. I remember because my phone was almost dead, and I'm walking around the village and stuff, whatever, with family, and I get back and I have like 35 missed calls from my agent, and stuff, all these messages, and he's like, Danny, you got to give me a call, man. Oh my God, Danny, look, you just call me. Your name's been flown around everywhere here. You're going to get traded probably this weekend or these next couple days. I'm like, wait, what? So I call him, and he's like, yeah, Jim Bowden's striking while the iron's hot. He's got all these teams bidding against each other. But the rumor was, Mark, I was either going back to the Braves
Yeah.
or the Diamondbacks or the Indians or the Red Sox. Those were the four teams that kept getting thrown out there. He's like, I'll keep you posted. By the next day, before the game even started, the All-Star game, I get the call from my agent. He's like, you got traded. All right, where do you think you went? So I start naming the teams that, we just mentioned and stuff. He's like, nope. And I'm like, wait, what? He goes, where's the last team that you probably think that you would get traded to? It's a playoff contender. And I'm like, not the Yankees. Yep.
Oh,
I'm like, wait, what? Because the same thing, Mark, like when I got traded to the Braves, I'm like, what, they got Clemens, Pettit, El
right.
Duque, David Cone, all. But again, I didn't know the extent of some of the injuries. David Cone's arm was hurting him. Doc Gooden was hurting. El Duque was kind of hurting that year. There was a bunch of guys that were really hurting that year for them. So they had a need. And Cashman kind of flies under the radar and comes in, and makes that deal quietly at the
Right.
All-Star game.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, Mark. But to answer your question, too, to be able to play in the World Series or two and the Subway Series, I was just talking about this the other day because obviously during the World Series, you have usually the two games at home,
Right.
the first two, and then you go for the next three wherever the other on the road usually. Like this past year, the Yankees and Dodgers. That's a
Right.
normal. So to be able to have a Subway Series in New York where it was only a 2-hour train ride for my family from Baltimore. So
Right.
for them to be able to come up and share that whole experience through the whole World Series and stuff was an unbelievable time for me and my whole family. And one of the cool memories I have too was Billy Crystal was shooting the background scenes for the movie 61 that he did for HBO
Oh,
and Roger Maris.
yeah.
So he
Yeah.
was there with his film crew the whole week during the series and getting all these background scenes and stuff. So when we won, we're all celebrating on the field with all of our families and stuff. And Billy's on there with his camera crew. I go, Billy, hey, this is my brother, this is my uncle, this is my, finally he's like, I don't know if I can say the S word, so obviously he goes, holy crap, how many Nagels are there out here?
And that's the thing. I mean, playing in the Big Apple, Billy Crystal, long time, Yankee fan, and so playing there, and it was at the old stadium, so 161st Street, the Bronx, and just there with the history, but just with your major league career and winning that World Series there in 2000, probably a great feeling, and then being a part of the Yankees organization.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, because it almost felt like a little redemption too. Because '96, when I get traded to the Braves, we played the Yankees.
Right.
Like you mentioned before, the Andrew Jones game. Played so unbelievably great the first two games, and beat them the first two games in New York. We're up 2-0. Coming back home, I'm thinking, sweet man, I'm going to get my first World Series ring, whatever, and this is going to be unbelievable. And then they sweep us the next four. So now, flash forward 4 years later, and now I'm with them. And to
Right.
be able to get my first World Series with the Yankees, the pinstripes, all that history there, I mean, it was pretty incredible. My dad grew up a huge Washington Senators fan. When they left, converted to an Orioles fan. But he kind of secretly was, he always said, he goes, I didn't want to like them, but it was hard not to like the Yankees. And his favorite player was Mickey Mantle, and so for my dad, to when I got my first win, and the whole crowd was chanting my name, I outdueled Schilling 3-1, whatever that year. Got off to a great start, but just the monuments, the pinstripes, and winter, it was incredible. I mean, it's one of those things when you look back on, Mark, it's like, God, sometimes I had to pinch myself and realize, was that me? Did that really happen?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And looking at the teams, that you made your major league career with, I mean, getting drafted by the Twins, making your major league debut with the Twins, playing college ball there in Minnesota, then the Pirates and their run there in the early 90s, and then going to the Braves,
The team of the '90s.
yeah, John Sherholtz, but and baseball is such a small world. I mean, with a close family friend, Adam Butler, and him and his wife went to Atlanta, and just with what Morgan Wallen did here with one of his songs being about one of your former teams, so just getting the opportunity of going back and get with old teammates, and then with the song, definitely awesome opportunity that happened there last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to share a pretty cool experience with my daughter too, my 20-year-old daughter, because she's a huge Morgan Wallen fan too.
Oh,
So he shot I don't know if you know this, but like he shot the music video at Truist Park last year, the night before his two-night concert
right.
in Atlanta, and he was going to shoot this private video, and I kind of helped arrange it. To be honest with you, I talked to Morgan Wallen's people and stuff, whatever, and I got Smoltz and Glavin to come back for it, because he talked about the big three.
Right.
Chipper was out of town, so he couldn't make it. But Chipper, I got myself, Klesko, um, Glavin, like I said, Smoltz, and then a few other guys that were on that '98 team, and we were all part of the video. And then he also had this little league team, local little league team in town that were there, around the stage and stuff, whatever. But it was pretty cool, and I brought my daughter with me. And technically, they wanted any extra family members we had with us, kind of in the background. But I
Right.
snuck her up there, up on the stage right next to me, and during the video shoot.
Cool.
And it aired the night of the Billboard Music Awards when he was accepting like Entertainer of the Year and stuff, whatever. So
Oh,
pretty
okay.
pretty cool experience for to share that, and to have all these people that reached out to me when that song came out, going, and
Yeah.
you were part of that '98 team. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool to be kind of sort of part of a song like that.
Yeah, and I definitely, with Adam's career and him reaching out to my brother and I on, getting the opportunity of him being on the opening day roster there of 98. I mean, so just with having a contact there with a friend, and Adam was excited that you came on. He asked me to ask you to do your train whistle. All right. Well, hey, Denny, I've done this platform here since 2021, and definitely appreciate your time for coming on. And then through Adam, I mean, it's just crazy on how small the world is around the game of baseball.
It really is, man. Because it's a fraternity, whether you played the game or not, or just any if you're involved in it whatsoever, you love the game. That's what I say. Mark. I mean, the one thing you're never above anything or anyone and stuff. And I think one of the great things about baseball is it brings family and friends together because we can all share a common love of just being around the game of baseball, and it really can. Music, sports, and all that kind of stuff can really bring people together, and I think we need more of that in this world sometimes.
Yes. Well, hey, Denny, I appreciate your time, especially there in the background. Definitely enjoy,
Yeah,
that
make sure
that
you let
sunny
everybody know I'm
day.
not Hollywooding it. I'm actually down on vacation here in Key West.
Right.
Never been here, but
Yeah.
I was more than happy to do this, brother.
Yeah. No, appreciate you coming on, and with not a cloud in the sky, I'll let you get back to enjoying the weather. And thanks for coming on and sharing your story. And have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thanks. You too, Mark. And please tell my boy Butler I said hi too.
Will do. And
Uh,
all right, fans. So that's Denny Nagel with us today.